A notorious womanizer cheats his way through life, leaving a trail of broken hearts and a body or two, until finally he meets one foe he can't defeat. Get ready for Don Giovanni. Thank you for joining us on Opera Avengers. I'm Alejandra Martinez, your guide to demystifying opera, an art form created by the people, for the people, and of the people. This month's podcast is brought to you by FreshBooks.com. Move your small business's accounting to the cloud with a free 30-day trial on www.gofreshbooks.com/opera. Additional support is brought by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/opera. Choose from over 180,000 titles to read on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. As always, this podcast will include spoilers. In opera, there are so many nuances to absorb that knowing the story beforehand allows you to sit back and enjoy the performance without worrying about missing a subtitle or two. So think of our podcasts as your cheat sheet and be free to enjoy every minute of high-flying opera. Let's take a look at Il dissoluto punito, ossia il Don Giovanni, which means the libertine punished, specifically Don Giovanni. And no, libertine has nothing to do with patriotism. It actually refers to any person with little moral or sexual restraint, and boy, is that Don Giovanni. Composed by Mozart, Don Giovanni is based on the fictional legends of the promiscuous rogue Don Juan. Here, it has been adapted into an unexpected mix of drama, low comedy, and otherworldly horror. Today, we are featuring an exclusive, a tell-all expose on the hedonistic life and death of Don Giovanni. It's called The Libertine's Catalog and is authored by Leporello, the late Don Giovanni's manservant, coming soon wherever fictional books are sold. I have a few passages from the book I'd like to share, where the poor Leporello reveals how he had to get his hands dirty to allow his master to pursue his conquests. Early on, he admits what it was like working for the Don. What was it like? He writes, "Day and night I slaved away for a guy who didn't appreciate it. I didn't eat well or sleep well. I got stuck standing out in the elements, playing lookout while he seduced his women. And I had to take notes in this stupid little book." He's referring to the famous catalog of lovers. I bet he has extensive notes on that night. The night in the Commendatore's garden, where everything went to hell. Literally. Oops, spoilers. Anyway, he continues, "So there I was, keeping watch in the garden. Don Giovanni had just snuck inside to rob the respectable Donna Anna of her honor. Suddenly, Don Giovanni broke off, running through the garden. Apparently, the seduction was unsuccessful. She managed to fight him off and chased after him, trying to pull off his mask and discover his identity. The boss escaped her, but not the Commendatore, Donna Anna's father. The man challenged Don Giovanni to a duel. After a few sword strokes, my boss killed the Commendatore, and we ran off after that." Well, from there, history shows us that Donna Anna returned with her fiancé, Don Ottavio. She found her father's bloody body and made Ottavio swear to avenge him. But to those of you who weren't following the story at the time, she had a big problem. She didn't know the identity of the murderer because he was wearing a mask. Leporello writes, "So the master and I had escaped to a public square. The night was even rougher than most. I had to confront him and to tell him that he was leading a rotten life. But he didn't care. because we had stumbled upon the site of another potential conquest. I suppose he means another woman. On the same night? Wow, this guy really gets around. Let's see. The woman came to the window, singing of resentment for a rascal who she was ashamed to have loved before he betrayed her. She had vengeance in her heart. So the Don emerged from the bushes and sang to her, and then he recognized her. This was Donna Elvira. Long ago, Don Giovanni had seduced her. She fell madly for him, and he promised to marry her. But 3 days later, he abandoned her. The boss was uncomfortable, so he had me distract Elvira while he slipped away from her again. Anyway, I distracted her with the truth, that he was not worth the feelings she had for him. I showed her the catalog. Look, I told her, this fat little book is entirely full of the names of Don Giovanni's sweethearts. Each town, each district, each countryside testifies to his affairs with women. Oh, wow, there's actually a little table in here. Let's see, it says, in Italy, 640 women. In Germany, 231, 100 in France. In Turkey, 91. In Spain, 1,003. Among these are peasant girls, maidservants, city girls, countesses, baronesses, marchionesses, princesses, women of every rank, shape, and age. This was enough to send Elvira storming off, reaffirming her thirst for vengeance. Wow, he was just racking up the enemies. At least 2,065 of them should be women. Let's skip ahead in the book a little bit. Next, out in the open country, a party of peasants were celebrating the wedding of Zerlina and Mazzetto. Of course, the Don and I wound up there, and of course he found a liking for the one woman he shouldn't have, the bride, Zerlina. All he needed was to get the groom out of the way, so he offered to move the party to his villa. He made Zerlina stay behind with him so he could feed her pretty lies, seducing the poor girl. He even had the audacity to ask her to marry him. Fortunately, they were interrupted by Donna Elvira. Still seeking vengeance, she spoiled the seduction and rescued Zerlina. And, as soon as those women left, they were replaced by Ottavio and Anna, still plotting to avenge the death of the Commendatore. They approached Don Giovanni, asking him for help, not knowing that he was the murderer they sought. Then Elvira interrupted again, sending him fleeing again, but not before Anna recognized his voice as that of the murderers. Meanwhile, I had brought the entire celebration to the boss's villa, managing to detain and distract them with all the chattering, flattering, and lies I had learned from the Don. I saw to it that both men and women drank. I told Mazzetto 1,000 lies to quiet his jealous suspicions, but, at the height of the festivities, Zerlina showed up with none other than Donna Elvira, screaming out every bad thing she could think about Don Giovanni. I managed to kick her out. The boss wasn't too worried about any of this. Outside in the garden, Zerlina tried to calm Mazzetto's jealous mind, but Don Giovanni was still coming for her. Mazzetto hid in the bushes to witness the Don and Zerlina alone. Don Giovanni resumed the seduction, laying all his charm on Zerlina until he stumbled upon Mazzetto's hiding place. The Don was flustered, but only for a second. He immediately came up with an excuse. Mazzetto was at fault, and he should not have left his poor bride alone. He led them both to the ballroom. I, at the door, witnessed the arrival of a handsome masked trio, 2 women and a man. I invited them in, but I didn't know they were Elvira, Ottavio, and Anna. On the dance floor, Mazzetto was still glaring daggers at Don Giovanni, so I distracted the groom with a dance. Desperate times. Meanwhile, the Don took Zerlina to a private room to consummate the seduction. But her scream for help alerted the entire party. Curious folks rushed over to see what the fuss was about, so the boss drags me over and accuses me of assaulting the girl. Fortunately, no one was fooled. Ottavio pulled a pistol on Don Giovanni, and his two companions unmasked themselves, proclaiming, "We know everything! Tremble, scoundrel! Now the whole world shall know of the horrible, black crime of your arrogant cruelty. Listen to the sound of vengeance as it thunders all around you. Upon your head this very day its thunderbolt shall fall." Beset upon by all sides, Don Giovanni kept his cool, pretending to be confused by all the developments. Then he ran away. I think that's a good time to break for a word from our sponsors before Act 2. Chapter 2? For those entrepreneurs in our audience, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day free trial to try out their service. FreshBooks provides a new, easier way to send invoices, chart your expenses, and save it all to the cloud. To try FreshBooks free for 30 days, just go to gofreshbooks.com/opera. And for our bibliophiles, Audible.com is offering a free audiobook download, in addition to a free 30-day trial, to test out their library of 180,000 books, including Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. To download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/opera. Again, that's audibletrial.com/opera for your free audiobook.
Adamina, il catalogo è questo, delle belle che amo il padron mio, un catalogo è che ho fatt'io. Osservate, leggete con me, osservate, leggete con me. In Italia 640, in Lamagna 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1.300. 1.300. Ma fra queste contadine, camerieri cittadine, contesse e baronesse, marchesone, principesse e madonne, non di grado, non di forma, non di età, non di forma, non di età. In Italia 640, in Lamagna 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1.300. Ma tra queste contadine, camerieri, cittadine, ma contesse, baronesse, marchesane, principesse, e bandone, non di grado, non di forma, non di età, non di forma, non di età, non di forma, non di età. Nella bionda vezzosa e ogni or vezzosa. Belle vecchie fa conquista bel piacer di porle in lista a passion predominante e la giovin principiante non si dica se sia ricca, se sia brutta, se sia bella, se sia ricca, brutta, se sia bella. Purché porti la gonnella, voi sapete quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa, quel che fa, quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa.
So, let's see what happened after the party. He writes, "Well, I managed to catch up with Don Giovanni at the street outside an inn. I was furious with him for throwing me to the wolves at the party. I was ready to just walk away and be done with him. Then he, paid me 4 pistoles, and, well, you can't stay mad at someone forever. Aha. Well, let's see. Don Giovanni planned to seduce a maid, but he figured she'd prefer a lower-class guy, so he traded his clothes and hat with mine. We looked exactly like each other. Then the maid's mistress came to the window. Elvira. Again. She was a nightmare. But the boss wasn't worried. He thought he'd play a game. He begged for her mercy and swore he was near dead with love for her, and the madwoman, she fell for it. So Elvira, thinking I was Don Giovanni, allowed me to lead her away. Then the boss was free to serenade the maid from the window by plucking a few notes on the mandolin. But Mazzetto arrived with a posse of peasants seeking to kill Don Giovanni. But, still disguised as me, the Don actually joined the posse. He came up with a brilliant plan to split the group, sending the rest of the peasants in the wrong direction while he stayed with Mazzetto. Then he tricked Mazzetto into handing over his weapons and beat him up and ran off into the night. Meanwhile, I had just escaped Elvira, then ran into Ottavio, Anna, Zerlina, and Mazzetto, who mistook me for the boss and threatened to kill me. But Elvira arrived, still infatuated, and tried to protect me. I told them I wasn't the Don, begged for mercy, and I ran. I finally met up with the boss in the graveyard. He taunted me, mocking my brush with danger. He was laughing it up until, and this I will never forget, a statue spoke. I have to stop here for a second. We're about to find out if the rumors are true. There are so many conspiracy theories about that night, that Anna killed him and Ottavio hid the body. I'm sure you all remember that lengthy court battle. They couldn't prove anything. Or that Mazzetto perhaps got revenge for Don Giovanni's assault earlier that day, but he had an alibi. Even Elvira was considered a suspect, but her testimony on his behalf was just so moving and so convincing. In the world of true crime, there are few innocents, and who could blame the person who finally brought Don Giovanni to justice? Perhaps Leporello can shed some light on what really happened. The statue spoke. It roared, "You will have your last laugh before the next dawn." I was terrified. On the base of the statue it read, "Upon the one who sent me to my death, here I await vengeance." It was the Commendatore's grave. But Don Giovanni, he roared right back, and he invited it to dinner. To dinner! That night! It nodded its marble head, and then said, "Yes." Wow, that's a lot to take in. And meanwhile, Ottavio was pressuring Anna into marrying him. But she thought it was too soon after her father's death. She insisted that she loved him and that she was faithful. He promised to share her sorrow, that he would remain with her. Of course, the court battle drew that out even longer. Perhaps now that they've settled, wedding bells will be ringing. But somehow, I doubt it. Let's see. Later, back at the villa, Don Giovanni was sat down at a feast, fully prepared to meet a ghost. And who should show up, Leporello writes, but Elvira again. She said that she had forgiven Don Giovanni, and no longer felt hatred, only pity. She begged him to change his ways, but he laughed in her face. He declared that wine and women were the glory of his life. Elvira left, hurt and annoyed, but on her way out she screamed with fright. I went to check, and it was the stone man. I ran back inside. There was a loud knock on the door. Don Giovanni ordered me to open it, but I was too scared. I refused to go near it. I hid under the table. So the Don opened the door himself. The statue stood in the doorway, terrifying and marble. I felt as if I had a fever, for I could not control my limbs. The statue offered his hand to Don Giovanni. I begged him not to take it, but he was so intent on looking brave. The statue told him, "Repent, change your ways, for this is your last hour." But the Don was stubborn. He refused again, and again, and again. Then the statue proclaimed, "Your time is up." It disappeared. Flames erupted all around, and the earth began to tremble. What a look of desperation was on the Don's face. I could hear the damned. What cries and laments they made! The inferno swallowed Don Giovanni, and then all went quiet, and the room was as it was before. Suddenly, Elvira, Anna, Terlina, Ottavio, and Mazzetto all stormed in, demanding to know, "Where is the villain? Where is the ingrate? I want to vent all of my rage on him. Only when I see him bound in chains will my anguish be soothed," they cried. I told them to abandon any hope of ever finding him, that the devil himself had dragged him to hell. Elvira had seen the statue, so she vouched for me. Everyone else, they were just glad to be rid of him, to have their vengeance at last. Pretty riveting stuff. Well, we all know what happened to Anna and Ottavio. Elvira retired to a convent and would withdraw from society for the rest of her days. Terlina and Mazzetto finally went home together. But what about Leporello? He writes in his postscript that he wants to find himself a better master. And to this day, he says, "I imagine Don Giovanni is still down below, and we good people know this is the evil which befalls evildoers. In this life, scoundrels always receive their just deserts. The death of a sinner always reflects his life."
vino calda la tesa, una che festa fa preparare, se trovi piazza qualche ragazza, tega che quella cerca minar, tega che quella cerca minar, cerca minar, cerca minar, senza color di nera.
There's a reason Don Giovanni is one of the legendary Mozart operas. It's a fascinating, ironic study of a despicable character who gets exactly what's coming to him. There was a film adaptation in 1979, and you may recall the final scenes appearing in 2011's Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. It's a story that will be around long after we're gone. Until next month, I'm Alejandra Martinez. Thank you for listening. Opera Avengers is a production of the Great Lakes Light Opera, an organization based out of Cleveland, Ohio, dedicated to bringing opera and all local musical arts to everyone. Want to learn more? Visit us at greatlakeslightopera.com. Want to help out? Check our donation page or email us at megan@greatlakeslightopera.com and let us know what you'd like to hear next.